the last steps. I go home, I go straight into my meditation room, and I start my journey. My guide has been with me the whole time. Part of him is there. I can feel him with the clients trying to protect them because now this entity is full out attacking the woman. I don't think is noticing it so much because she's got the protection of her faith. She's got the protection of my guide, the things that we had just set up to keep the family safe, because in situations like this, physical safety of the family is a top priority. I had wanted to do this work with them not in the house. That isn't how it turned out. And I didn't feel like we could postpone this any longer. We were being messed with too many times. Too many things were preventing us getting the work done. It was time. We needed to just get it done. So as I go into the meditation to do the work, well, I'm not going to go into the details of how it's done because it's fantastical. It doesn't ultimately matter to the outcome. Basically, it's a battle of wills. Sometimes that battle looks like actual fisticuffs. Sometimes that looks like people getting their asses kicked. Other times it looks like something out of Lord of the Rings. Sometimes it looks like a staring contest. It just depends on what the entity is that we're dealing with. In this particular situation, what ended up happening was we found out that this was not actually something horribly evil. This was a dead person who had gotten to the point in their evolution, didn't cross over correctly. They had made themselves into what they thought evil looked like. They did a really convincing job of that. But that isn't actually what they were. They were a dressed up dead person who had a really strong ability to make themselves into something terrifying. They had attached themselves to this little girl when she was young, and over time realized that they could influence her life and got a kick out of that. So when I'm saying that we give the dead more leeway than we should by speaking of them in hushed tones and we can't upset the dead, by all means upset the dead. The dead in those situations have no qualms whatsoever about upsetting your life. Fight fire with fire. Not all dead deserve our respect, just like not all living people deserve our respect. So we got rid of the entity. The woman immediately felt relief. That's not to say that all of her physical symptoms stopped. So what had happened was it had been with her for so long, it had done just like having chronic exposure to something, to a biohazard. Your body holds on to those types of things. What did stop was her inability to hear that voice as something other than her own. She had been hearing in her own voice, "You're worthless. You need to just kill yourself. You're a horrible person. You don't deserve to live." And she thought it was her brain telling her that. From that moment on, she heard this as something that was no longer hers. So while we were able to stop the dead person from doing any more damage, she had that loop of negative self-talk in her head for so long. While it wasn't physically present with her anymore, it was still a negative way of thinking. Through therapy, she was able to realize, okay, this is me remembering a pattern of behavior that I created along with something that I had no control over. And then working with her over time to make sure that she protected herself in a way that couldn't repeat itself. That's a little bit harder to do. Some people have better results than others because oftentimes those types of entities attach to people who have a difficult time setting boundaries, which makes sense. People who have a difficult time setting boundaries often have difficult time setting boundaries with living people. It's even harder when it's a dead person. Maybe you're the only one that can see it or sense it. Eventually, they needed to move. The family wasn't able to lock down the difficult amount of energy it would have taken to keep all of the dead at bay. When you had that many intuitive people together, something needed to change. The children, I believe, had better luck keeping the dead at bay. Again, for these situations, I can remove the entity, we can remove the dead, but we're also mitigating for symptoms, because when you've got all of those people shining together, the dead are going to see that light. But it was a really fascinating case that I'm probably never going to forget.